of Edina. And we're all supposed to click got it. So we're consenting to the recording. Working in public health since 2010, earned her master's of public health from North Dakota State University and worked for the North Dakota Department of Health as a field epidemiologist, and has been with the city of Edina now for a couple of years. And we'll look forward to hearing more about her work. A couple of shameless pitches first. To those who said that they wanted to be in person again, you have an opportunity in a week. Our annual keynote address will be at Edina City Hall next Thursday night, April 21st. Our speaker is Professor Timothy Johnson from the University of Minnesota, who is an expert on the US Supreme Court. He last spoke to us in October of 2018, and he is a fascinating speaker, and I think it's a really timely topic. So please join us for that. Bring a friend. It will be taped. It won't be live streamed. You won't have the opportunity to watch it via Zoom or on any kind of TV that evening, but it will be recorded by Edina City staff, and that recording will be available on YouTube within a day or two of his presentation. Another in-person opportunity will be Monday, May 16th. The League's annual meeting will be returning to St. Albans, and that will be our annual business meeting with a social time and a light supper preceding. So that one will start at 5:30 and should be done no later than about 8 o'clock. A third opportunity back to Zoom is a discussion of this book, which is being sponsored by the League's Racial Justice Action Committee, and that will be on Thursday, the 28th, also beginning at 7. There'll be a presenter and then breakout discussions featured that evening. And I think I've covered upcoming events. If you haven't renewed your membership yet, please do. But events are always open to non-members, and members are always welcome to bring guests. And now turning it over to our speaker. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Yeah, good morning. I am actually really thrilled to see a lot of the names on the screen because I recognize some of them, and I've had many interactions with a lot of you already, which is great, some more than others. I am going to share my screen here, hopefully. Nope, that one. Can everybody see?
Yes.
Great. Okay. All right. Well, my name is Twila. I have been working with the city of Edina since 1 week before the pandemic shutdown happened. So it's been a venture. And I've done as much as I can, and been really busy lately because everybody's coming out of hibernation, and it feels like I'm coming out of hibernation too. So we are in go mode at the city right now. This, if you are not familiar with, is the health department, and I am a member of the city's health department. And I say that because we are all licensed health inspectors. We all have multiple jobs. This is just one of the jobs that I do. We are housed inside of City Hall, inside the police department. And we are technically under the fire department, as Chief Slamma is my boss's boss. So Jeff Brown is our boss, and he is under Chief Slamma. So if you ever want to try and find one of us, you have to come to the police department, and that might be on purpose. I'm just kidding. So I want to have everybody read this. It means different things to other people. This might be a repeat, and I do this at all of my presentations. So if you've sat through one of them with me before, you've probably seen this, but this is kind of like my personal motto. And the reason why I think it's important is that no one lives a zero waste life. To be human on this planet means that that's nearly impossible. So while I think it is extremely important to be critical of the systems that we live in, I think that it's also okay to keep trying and failing and trying again, because that's what we need to do in order to save our planet. Fair warning, I am quite under the weather and I have been for like the last week. So if I have to make an emergency run, I will shut off my camera and then I'll come back. I don't have the Rona. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I've been very ill. So I'm glad that this is virtual because I don't want to be sharing that with any of you guys. Also, I am a blabberer. I don't know what the technical term for that is, but I have a tendency to get on my soapbox and just start talking passionately about things. And I do make an effort to make sure that everything in my presentation is like from verified sources and reputable resources that everybody could access. But that doesn't mean that the things in this presentation or the topics that we will discuss might not be offensive or disruptive to our current way of thinking. And that's okay, because that's my job. My job is to disrupt the current systems and the way things work to try and do something better. And that can be uncomfortable for everybody. So it's okay to just acknowledge that discomfort and discuss it and sit with it. I think that's very important. So to get started, has anybody seen this tent set up at the farmer's market? Seen some head nods. Yeah, great. Thank you for coming to visit me at the farmer's market. Thank you everyone for your support so far. Thank you for the critical questions and the poking and the prodding and the engagement which has happened at the community level so far. It's really, really important. And I say that because as a public servant, I get stuck in my silos where I am unable to do anything beyond what is expected of me sometimes. And it's people that ask questions and poke and prod and call 50 times a day that get things done. So good for you guys, because that's what we need. And at the farmer's market this summer, we will be back out there. It'll probably be a intern this summer out at the table. We'll have the supplies for everybody if you want to come get some for organics. Additionally, we will be doing the compost again if city council is okay with that. I'm asking them to look at that on Tuesday. But the compost will be available for give back on Mother's Day weekend, the following weekend, and then the second weekend in September. So there will be a press release coming out about that, and the details will be available then for everybody. But I know that that has been a popular program amongst a lot of people, especially if you have gardens. So some of the things I have been up to, we have added some drop-off locations within the city. I call them my super secret ninja carts because I have not widely publicized these drop-off areas. They're mostly for residents in multifamily homes. So they're stashed away inside of like parks and areas where those residents would be able to access it, but somebody wouldn't be able to drive up and just dump a mattress inside of. I do intend on making drop-off locations publicly available, hopefully this year, but finding space within the city limits has not been easy. So nobody really wants a dumpster in their backyard. We have added a couple drop-off sites at businesses and nonprofits, and unfortunately I just lost one, but then I was able to add another, so it kind of changes. So if you are looking for drop-off sites for somebody, I can help you navigate where they are within the city. Last year we distributed 175,000 pounds of garden compost. We will probably be doing double that this year. We have also incentivized used compost as an incentive for multifamily homes to add organics recycling to their current services. And then added quite a few multifamily home apartment complexes and stuff. We've added organics recycling to their current services. We've added organics recycling to our city outdoor events. It's now required. And then we have also worked toward the green to go ordinance So that means compostable packaging will be required for to-go orders within the city of Edina. So if you go to a restaurant, that's what you should expect. That will be coming in July. If you are not aware, which I highly doubt that is the case, we have a climate action plan in Edina, which was passed, I think, last year. And by the way, if you guys have questions, please speak up while I'm talking, because I'm one of those people that if I'm listening to a presentation, I will forget my question if I have to save it to the end. So please put it in the chat, which I can't see. And then we can either get back to it later or you can ask it while I'm talking. Anyways, so we have a climate action plan in Edina. And I wanted to point this out that you guys can read this climate action plan. It's quite riveting. It's large. It's like 144 pages or something long. But that waste management and what I am going to be talking about is just one part of that climate action plan. And in terms of greenhouse gas emissions, it's not that big of a part. So there's a lot we are doing to address climate change at the city level, and this is just one aspect of what we're doing here. So why is it important though? Why are we doing this? Well, this is where some of our emissions are coming from in terms of greenhouse gases, and in particular methane, which we are trying to address. Methane is far more potent than CO2 and warms the planet faster. And we also have quite a lot of waste coming out of our city, despite the fact that in 2019, we had a measurable decline in the amount of waste which we produced. The data has not been published yet, but we know for a fact that in 2020, when everybody decided to clean out their garages, we had a massive uptick in the amount of waste which was produced. So we expect that that data will be alarming. There'll be a big trend up. Okay, and then at the bottom left-hand side, you'll see the 26% change in total solid waste handled since 2013. They measure this, seems like every 3 years. So they did another one in 2016, they did another one in 2019, and then there'll be another one this year. I'm not trash talking the Pollution Control Agency, but their data is out of date just because they don't have the resources to be publishing this. So if you go to their website, you'll be like, oh man, this data is like from 2013. That's kind of sad, but go ahead, Joni.
Twila, so we have a question in chat. Will green to go apply to at all to grocery deli items? Some co-op delis offer compostable to-go containers. Do you know anything about what's going on in Edina?
Yes, so all grocery stores are under the Department of Agriculture, which means that I can't touch them. So my delegation comes from the Minnesota Department of Health, not the Department of Agriculture. So same thing with schools. I have no say in what they choose to do with their to-go containers. Grocery stores like Jerry's that have already done it willingly are great. We're helping them with resources, and right now we're actually talking about maybe adding a drop-off site for residents at their stores. So I think best we can do is just manage that relationship and hope that they're willing to sign on. Any other questions we want to address in the chat now?
None right now.
Okay. Sorry, I can't see the questions in the chat. I can just see that there's like a notification on there. So go ahead and speak up.
I'll keep checking and let you know.
Thanks. Okay, so one of our goals in the climate action plan is to decrease the amount of municipal solid waste handled by 5% in 2030. It really doesn't mean a lot to us because it's extremely hard to measure the amount of waste that's coming out and being hauled. And this is because all of the trash haulers in the city are private companies. So they are not required to report to us the amount of waste that they're bringing out of the city. we can request it. We can request specific types of data. If they're willing to work with us, that's great. But if not, then, you know, as many times as the state wants to ask, they may or may not get that data. And the 5%, when the amount of trash is exponentially growing, means that like 5% is a lot more than what 5% would be today. So it's this goal, take it with a grain of salt. It'll take us a very long time to achieve this. Here's our other goals that we are trying to reach. That's where I come in on the bottom left, is to achieve a 70% diversion rate of organics from landfill by 2030. And believe it or not, there's a lot of room for improvement in terms of recycling still. And also we, on the bottom right, you'll see strategy number 4, we would like to remove a lot of the things which could be reused from the landfill as well. Remember that you guys can see all of these things accessibly on our website if you want to read these strategies and the whole document. And I can definitely get that website to you if you need it again. Okay.
Couple more questions.
Yep.
Can private companies be required to report to you? And the comment is, it seems counter to our goal if we can't measure progress. And then the second question is, why is recycling preferred to composting in the hierarchy?
Okay. First question, yes. If they are under contract with us or under contract with the state or something, then yes, they can be required to report that data. But they do it on their own timeline. Let's just say that. So yes, they can be required to report. And I'm sure that there's something in state statute which says that they do, but it's not necessarily happening the way we would want it to. And yes, I think it is also counterintuitive, being somebody that relies on data to do my job. I want that information. And then the second question about why is recycling preferred to composting, we will address also later in the presentation. So just hold on to that one. But that's a really good question. I like that one a lot. So the waste studies, which we have done in Minnesota, this is kind of what our trash looks like. We know it's 25%-ish, usually closer to 30 of what our trash is made up of in terms of organics. And that number about how much is recyclables, which ends up in our trash, that fluctuates a lot. So, and the definition of what is recyclable also fluctuates a lot. And I think it's important to note that we are talking about millions of tons every year, hundreds of thousands of tons every month coming out of cities just like Edina. So we're like, when I am so proud of the fact that we have recycled, you know, over 2,000 pounds in Edina of organics. I mean, I'm not even making a dent in what we're producing right now. And it's heavy, and it's heavy, and it's a lot. And this right here is what you would see come out of any grocery store every day at the recycling facility. So, I mean, look at all those watermelons. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot of food waste. And no, not all of it is edible. And so, and we don't break down in organics like what would have been edible and what would have not been edible. One of my unfortunate jobs is to go into a restaurant and throw away like thousands of pounds of food because it's been contaminated with bleach, or it's been out of temperature control for a very long time. Technically, that food is no longer safe to eat. I have to throw it away. But we don't look at the difference between that and landfills. So how are we doing here in Minnesota? We're going to review this. Remember, we're going to simplify this to 3 buckets of waste to look at this. We're going to look at trash, which we've kind of already looked at, means just plain old garbage. We're going to look at organics, and we're going to look at recycling. There are obviously subdivisions in that, like I just mentioned. There's hazardous waste, there's construction demo type waste. Like we could classify it down more, but we're just going to focus on the 3 buckets. Also remember again that everything that gets hauled from our homes to places in Minnesota is done by private businesses. So we are relying on markets, and we're relying on private businesses to handle our waste. Now, the private businesses have a couple of options of what they can do with our waste. They can take it to an incinerator, they could take it to a landfill, or they can haul it across state lines and pay somebody else to take our waste. All 3 of those things are happening right now.
So we
Yep.
do have one more question, and this maybe this time or defer it, but so free cycle and buy nothing aim to reduce solid waste. Is the city of Edina doing anything to make these options better known and or easier to use?
Yes, so all haulers within the city of Edina have to be licensed, and we just licensed a new one. So if those companies want to be a part of, Edina's market, they have to apply for a license, and then they can be an option for residents. That is happening. Yeah, so our landfills in Minnesota, most of you would probably already know this, but they are filling up. We are to the point now today where we have to either expand our current landfills or build a new one. It is extremely expensive to do both. And landfills, once they are full and closed, they have maintenance costs for decades afterwards. So it's not just that you can fill it up, close it, and build a new one. You have to be able to pay for the maintenance of the old landfill. Again, a landfill is also a private business, unless it's county run. So it's actually can be a profitable business, but it obviously the expenses to run something like a landfill are mind-boggling. So all of you at this point in the presentation have homework. Dun, dun, dun. This web address here at the bottom, beheardhennepin.org, Zero Waste Future. I can put that link in an email to Joni later so she can share it with you if you don't want to copy it down. But you guys are all responsible at this point for going to this website and giving feedback on what you think needs to be done. And I want you to think about this for a second. If the experts at the county are asking us for our feedback about what we should be doing differently with our trash, we have a problem. So I hopefully have made the problem clear enough. But what do you think we should be doing as a state, as a county, regionally, to be doing better? And you guys can give your feedback on here, any ideas, like even if you think it's crazy or could never happen, this is the place to put it. For example, we've done this before, and we got the idea to add a digester, to an anaerobic digester to our waste management in the county, and they're doing that. It's a very long project. I don't expect it'll be operational for the next 5 to 7 years, but it's another way to deal with organics within the county. And hopefully that will help. So homework, do not fail me. All right. These are the most common materials found in the trash. Food waste is top of it. So that's why what I do is what I do. And then also I want you guys to look at this right here, because we're going to come back to it. A lot of people in Minnesota have dogs and animals, so we have quite a bit of pet waste in our stream of trash. Yard waste, has actually been increasing over the last like 10 years. A lot more people are mowing their lawns, cleaning up their lawns, even though Edina is doing no mow May this year, which is awesome. Boot, boot. And non-recyclable plastic film has also been increasing quite a bit. Can you guys see my mouse as I'm moving it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad I wasn't doing that just for myself. And I have done lots of trash audits within Edina. And what I find in our trash pretty much mimics that chart. There's a lot of food waste and there's a lot of compostable material, which is being thrown away. And there's also a lot of recyclable materials, which are not put in the right container. And then there's also a lot of things which should not be recycled in the recycling. So I've audited our trash at our parks, at our events, and also at a few like townhomes and community areas. I used to give report cards to like apartment complexes, and I'd be like, okay, you guys got a D, and this is why. I didn't make very many friends that way, so I stopped doing that. So I don't give like grades or scores anymore. We just do recommendations. And so that will be happening quite a bit this summer and also in hopefully into next year. We have applied for a Green Corps member to help us do that kind of auditing. And auditing is important because that's where we get our data. So like when everything needs to be data based, you got to have data. This is where we get it. Rooting around in the garbage can is no fun for anybody, especially in the heat of July, but it's a necessary evil. Okay, so back to that question about why recycling is preferred to composting. Recycling extends the life of a product to be reused again. So recycling in terms of the hierarchy of waste is much better than composting. And so I do think of organics as like organics recycling as a form of recycling, but it's technically composting. So if I could take cardboard and compost it, yes, but cardboard is valuable in the recycling stream because we can reuse it again and again. So remember that most recycling markets are based on private markets. There's markets for glass, aluminum, steel, cardboard. Does somebody have a question? I'm hearing feedback.
There are several questions waiting in chat. Twila, when you're ready for more questions.
Yeah, let's go. Yep.
But you were talking about cardboard and the fact that that does have, so do you want to finish that explanation first?
Sure. So one of the only good things to come out of COVID was a revival of the cardboard market. So we are actually starting to see dividends being returned to haulers for cardboard being collected because the market demand for it got so high that producers had to actually start turning towards used materials in order to meet the demand. And so they started buying back cardboard from recycling facilities. So that has actually been really good. That doesn't mean I want people to be ordering online even more, but it does mean that the cardboard you're recycling is actually being reused. If we composted it, that would be end of life for it. Sorry, go ahead, Joni.
Well, one of the questions is related to that, and then I'll go back up to other questions, but it was about styrofoam that comes in mail order, particularly with prescription medications.
Styrofoam is evil. End of story. Just kidding. But you can't do anything with styrofoam. It can't be, I mean, unless you're going to use it for an art project or for another shipping product, you can't do anything with it. It goes straight to the landfill. And because it's so light and fluffy and breaks into all those little tiny pieces, they fly away all over the place and contaminate all of our water and land. And it's very unfortunate that every time you buy like an appliance, you get probably the volume of the appliance itself worth in styrofoam in the box with it. So yes, I don't want my dishwasher being all dinged up and everything, but we need an alternative to styrofoam.
Is anything being done from a regulatory perspective, either on a state or national level, about reducing that?
Yes, there is. In fact, the Green to Go ordinance is one of the things which is addressing that. It is saying that you can no longer use styrofoam. But remember what I said is that I can't touch schools, right? And so the schools are still using styrofoam trays to put food on for the kids, and the kids throw that right into the garbage can. Now, I'm not saying that that's not the best option for the school, because in terms of cost right now, styrofoam is still down, but and that's what they need, is they need more cost-effective solutions. But we need to have less styrofoam being bought and produced. And really the best way to do that is with our dollars to make that happen.
And then earlier you referred to where solid waste goes, the different options, the fact that landfills are so expensive. So one question in chat is the cost of hauling away solid waste increasing?
Yes, that's another homework piece for you guys. And I'm just going to tell it to you now. I want every single one of you guys to look at your garbage bills. And if you can, look at the history of your garbage costs, because almost everybody's has gone up about 25% in the last couple of years. Since I started my job in Edina, your garbage bills have gone up. That's why, because we are having, and I say we, I mean the private haulers are having to do more with that solid waste. There's more volume of it, and they don't have a place to put it. So obviously hauling away garbage to Iowa is going to make your garbage costs go up. And we as customers, we are required to have somebody take our garbage away. If we don't have that service at our homes, the health department, we have to come say, hey, you guys are required to have this. You're going to get a little nasty gram from the city. So you're required to have a service which is costing you more and more money every year. Yes. So part of your homework is please look at your garbage bills, please shop around, and this is why your costs are going up.
And then the last question is a repeater. So is in turn, with those increasing costs, with the limits on where things can go, is the city working with either the free cycle or buy nothing concepts to reduce the amount of waste that's coming in any form?
Yes. So I would say the county is probably doing a better job of that than the city, but and it's a nascent idea, but we are doing events to capture that waste before it is being put into the garbage, and partnering with those organizations to host and sponsor and advertise events. For example, things like used running shoes being collected at the clothing swap, or promoting the Buy Nothing project at specific events, or working with Hennepin County to sponsor like a Fix It clinic or things like that. That's where we're at with supporting those organizations right now. As far as I know, those two organizations which you just named have not applied for licenses to haul within Edina. So they're just operating mostly event based within the city limits.
Couple more comments have come in. They're just flying in, or questions. So a question about what happens with composting, or what you should compost if it's not labeled as composting. Arnie wants to make a comment about large multifamily housing. We'll wait until we'll get the other questions first and circle back to that. And then back to styrofoam. Is UPS and some other companies taking back styrofoam to reuse, in your knowledge?
No, I think that last question, I have heard that rumor in some cities that they've done styrofoam drop off where like UPS would reuse. Sorry, I don't want to name UPS because that's not fair to them, but like the shippers would reuse the materials. but they as organizations don't have the capability to recycle that, and it's just gone to landfill. So I'd be curious if they try to continue doing that. And then the composting question, if it is not labeled as compostable, it does not belong in the composting stream, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. And I'm going to move on, Joni, just for time. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. So what is Edina doing with that 30% of organics, which is in our garbage? We are taking it to the Minnewacan Sioux tribal facility, which is in Shakopee. If you guys have never gone down there, they are back open for public tours. It is very cool. And if you go down there after they collect like all the Christmas trees from all the residents in Dakota County, it's an actual awesome site. Like they have Christmas trees just 25 feet high. It looks like you're in the Grand Canyon. It's so cool. Anyways, the tribal facility, it's a private facility in Shakopee, owned and operated by the tribe. They fully recycle all of the organics which come in. They audit all of the loads that come in. They do windrow type of composting, and we can turn over loads of compost within like less than 2 months, depending on the weather. It's usually 3 to 6 months in the winter. They have full-time soil scientists on staff, and they are very good at mitigating things like jumping worms, and like all of those concerns that people have had. They are willing to address. If you as a private resident wanted to go buy like mulch or soil or anything like that from them, you can. They are expanding to a new site, which is good. That means they're green. This like green business, which we've been supporting, is doing well. And the state is supporting them quite a bit too. In Edina, specifically, our participation rate around organics has actually been going steady. It's not been growing. It's been going down over the winter months. And I think that trend is because of our snowbirds. So a lot of people go out of town and then they just don't set their carts out as much. So I look at two different types of data when I look at participation rate. I look at the percentage of people which are actually putting their carts out every week. And I look at the number of households which are putting their carts out every week. You can see that the number of households is probably the most important part. And you can see that during like August and September and like right around the end of the summer when the kids come back and everybody is at home. And then during the holidays, we see a lot more set outs. And our carts are also a lot heavier during that time because we have a lot more eating occurring within the city. And if you guys ever want this data, you're welcome to ask me for it. I'm happy to give it to you. So we are aiming for a closed loop type of recycling with organics in the city. We're doing from the residents curb to Shakopee, commercially composting it, and then either buying back that product or they are selling it at fair market value for use. Sorry, Mr. Bigby, did you have a question?
You know, I just wanted to make a comment before we sign off here, and I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I am on the association board of directors at the Village Homes of Edinburgh.
Yeah.
We have 392 family units here, and we have started organics recycling here earlier this year. We had to change haulers to do that because the garbage hauler we had before, who took the recycling and the garbage, did not offer organic recycling. So we're with Berkant's, which I see is on a lot of the names that you've had on your display here. I'm concerned as a member of the board about getting better and better compliance. And I'm not sure that we've had a really good way to do that. The information you're providing is outstanding, but you know, each of our 7 buildings, you know, there's 56 families, and each building of the 7 has 4 trash rooms. So it's just a little bit of a complicated thing to get in touch with everybody. We don't have a really simple way to do that. But any suggestions, anything we can do besides the signs on the trash room doors and other things to increase that would be very much appreciated.
Yes, let's chat afterwards, Mr. Bigby. I know we've
Okay.
emailed before because we contracted with Minnesota Chamber, the WasteWise Foundation, and they have a big grant and contract through Hennepin County to do exactly what you just said in multifamily homes. And we've already started that process at a couple of larger facilities in Edina.
Great.
And I think we should tackle yours next. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you email me though? Because I will forget.
I will do that. Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions? Because I'm going to move on because we got a lot of stuff to cover and I'm running out of time. So, okay, moving on here. So some of the goals which we have set in Edina, we need to be at a 50% diversion rate by 2023. Remember that data I just showed you says we're at about a 25 to 30% diversion rate. So we're not doing so well on meeting that goal. And I also do not have a way right now to measure the amount of organics which are going into our drop-off sites because those are mixed with commercial organics as well. And they're picked up by multiple different haulers. So I can't even encapsulate that data into this 50%. And remember our statewide goal is 75%. And our climate action plan said 70%. So these are very ambitious goals to be doing this. And we also need to, at the same time, be continuing to recycle responsibly and disposing of our yard waste responsibly. Those are separate streams of trash. What are we doing with the organics? From your curbside to what are we doing with it? I don't know if last year, if any of you came to come get some soil, but I used our grant funds and I turned it in to compost for the residents to use. And this is happening again in May. And that was a pretty popular program. I'm getting a lot of feedback on the audio. Could we mute mics, please? And then in terms of what the state is doing to support organics recycling and also at the city, we are buying that compost from like Shakopee or other private businesses, and we are using it in our road construction projects because we know that it helps with water retention, pollution runoff from like our friendly snowplows and stuff. It helps capture that type of material better than what we were doing traditionally. So it's actually gotten to the point where we have seen such good results at a state level that, like, for example, SMSC, they run out of compost. They're like at some point last year, they were completely back ordered because like the state is buying it in such vast quantities for their road construction projects that they didn't have enough product to meet demand, which is good. That means we're doing it right. Like that system is working. That's why they're expanding. Couple of reminders for organics recycling real fast. Yard waste is not allowed. Please do not put dog poop in there. Yes, pet waste and human waste are both compostable materials, but we do not have the technology at our sites to manage that right now. Perhaps in the future it would be, but right now we don't have that technology. It is helpful to line your carts with leaf bags every week and just have the leaf bag slide out with materials. And it keeps your cart really clean. It unfortunately does not deter the squirrels. And we have some very wickedly ingenious squirrels and raccoons in Edina. I don't know what we feed them here, but they are smart. But you can get a new lid if your lid was chewed through by a friendly squirrel. And you can get a smaller cart if you want. There are bigger carts available. And the goal of the organics program at an individual household level is to get your trash to the smallest cart possible so that you aren't paying as much for your garbage, maybe even reducing the number of times that you have service, and then possibly eliminating the need for it altogether. But do remember that you are required to have that service through ordinance. And what's next? There's a lot coming, but like Mr. Bigby and I were talking about, I think right now my main focus is within the multifamily homes, because that's where there's just such a high density of trash being produced, and we could be doing a lot more with it. And also removing barriers to participation. Like right now, we've been focused for the last 2 years on residential households, and we have not, and I say we, and I mean me, we have not been so focused on how can we expand these services to multifamily homes and also help create value for this type of recycling within these areas. So that's what I would like to be doing. And I have the University of Minnesota logo up there because I've been doing research with them ever since I started my job to figure out what works best. And that data, I think one of the papers is going to be published this year. So in summary for organics recycling, if we are not recycling our organics, we are not really recycling. If you have been recycling diligently for the last 50 years and you are extremely proud of that, it is time to step up your game, because that is the truth of it, is that this is a new type of recycling. I know I do not want you to stop recycling your paper products, but we have to also be doing this. Okay, now we're going to talk about recycling. This is the other bucket. Almost all of us have heard in the news, we've read reports about how overseas recycling markets are collapsing, how that affects us in the United States. Like, our recycling is just going into the ocean. Why are we even doing this? Why are we even paying for it? Some of it is hogwash and some of it is true. So for you as an individual, there's a couple of things that are important to know. We in Minnesota have one of the strongest and healthiest and cleanest recycling streams in the entire United States. This was just verified at a conference within last year in 2021, and it's true. You have a question, Mr. Bigby?
No.
Sorry. Oh, the hand is up still.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's
okay. Take it down.
If you guys ever have questions about where something can go in the recycling, please go to the Hennepin County Green Disposal Guide. It's ever expanding library of what to do with what. And I mean, there's like everything in that catalog. It took us 20 years or more to get to where we are with recycling in Edina and in Minnesota. And in Edina, our adherence rate or compliance rate with regular recycling is anywhere between 92 and 95%. We are awesome at recycling. And if you want a comparison, there is another state in the United States that starts with an O, and their recycling rates are anywhere from 32 to 36%. And that's the national average. So clap yourselves on the back. You're awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. We're doing it right in terms of recycling, especially when it comes to things like glass. But the reason why recycling is so frustrating for so many of us is because it's confusing and the rules keep changing. Since I've started in 2020, the rules have changed. The rules are set by the people that do something with that recycling. And then those rules or those needs, you can think of them as, they get dictated to us through the haulers and then through the county and then through like city. So it has to go through all of those hoops before it probably finally gets to us as citizens that are just trying to figure out what to do with the pizza box. So there's a few like hard and fast rules that we can all follow for recycling. Please recycle cans, paper and cardboard always. You'll notice that the water bottle on the left-hand side top does not have a cap on it because most colored plastics cannot be recycled. Keep food and liquids out of your recycling. Do not bag your recycling, keep it loose. So no bags, no plastic bags in the recycling at all. Waste Management has this helpful like 101 recycling site on the bottom. Again, they're one of the haulers that operate in Edina. They set the rules for us based on what the facilities that intake those streams need. I know that there's going to be questions on this, so I'll pause at the end of it. So here's a couple more rules for you guys. Flatten all of your cardboard. This has become a really big issue in Edina itself. Like we have a lot of cardboard. You need to flatten it, and it has to be cut down to size to fit inside of that cart. If you have excess cardboard, which will not fit inside of your cart, we have places you can take it, and they will no longer pick it up beside the cart on the curb anymore. They will not have their drivers get out of the truck to do it anymore. So, and in terms of plastics, this is probably the most common question that I get. I only want these 3 types of plastics. So type 1s, type 2s, and type 5s. Everything else, don't put inside of the recycling. This includes black plastic, which if sometimes will have one of these 3 numbers on it, don't put it in the recycling. It's not recyclable. Okay, before I move on with recycling, questions?
Couple questions in chat. One is, can I put smaller recyclables in paper bags?
No.
No, it's hard no.
Hard no.
Okay.
Don't do it. Used
All
to be
right.
able to do it, can't do it no more, don't do it.
Okay. And caps on plastic recycling or not. So you said that you can't, that the colored plastic is not recyclable. Aveda used to have a recycling program for caps, but then they stopped that some years ago. So what do people do with the caps from their beverage bottles?
Garbage. There is no market for colored plastics anymore. They don't want it. The only types of plastics which have value are those 3 that we mentioned before. And those are usually not colored. That does not mean that won't change. And that does not mean that there aren't ways to recycle those products. But in your curbside cart, which you deal with on a daily basis, do not put them in there.
So we have something on our little bulletin board about recycling, and we look at it frequently because we have questions and they aren't answered on that little thing we have on our bulletin board. And it seems like things change over time. And just as a suggestion, maybe when those things go out, or maybe in the Edina newsletters or something, put a QR code that goes to a site, because the site's getting updated a site that's getting updated all the time. Because we have very specific questions about what about a plastic tea bag, the thing that holds a tea bag that's clear plastic. Is that filmed? Can I put it in the stuff I take to Target? I mean, it's just we have questions all the time about things like that, and that's just one of many examples.
Yeah. Well, first of all, that's why I'm here. That's why Solvay is here at the city, is to help navigate those more specific type of questions. But yes, I agree with you. The bulletin board information is never as updated as it could be. And with the way things are changing, with the rapidity that things are changing, I think an annual update is not sufficient any longer. So I'm glad that you're here so that we can help address that. All right. Any other brief questions? Yeah.
Well, yeah, Twila, questions about paper, because for a while the suggestion was, we want you to recycle, so don't worry about those windows in the envelopes.
Oh, yeah.
And then shredded paper, for a while it was put it in organics. It can't go into recycling, but it can go into organics. So can you just quickly go over the rules for paper?
Yeah, shredded paper needs to be put into the garbage can. Since I started my position, it has changed. They do no longer want shredded paper in the organics stream. The reason is the ink in most home printers is contaminating the water. And the envelopes with the clear plastic windows in them need to go also into the garbage, unless you want to sit there and cut the window out before putting the paper envelope into the garbage can, or sorry, into the recycling cart. So I know that some of you are probably willing to put in that work, and that's great, but most people will not be able to.
And last thing is, it's supposed to be about the size of a sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11, to go into recycling, not smaller pieces of paper, except maybe envelopes with the windows out.
Correct. Yep. Yeah, the larger pieces of paper do better at the MRFs because a lot of this stuff ends up on conveyor belts. So the smaller pieces just fly all over the place and then gum up and make a mess and don't ever get recycled. So, okay. So for us, we, in terms of recycling, have to be thinking beyond the curb, meaning beyond what we're doing now. And so we have to be supporting right to recycle initiatives. I think for this group, this is a very important aspect of that. I will send more information to you guys about that, but essentially it means that you have to be fighting for your right to be able to recycle things. For example, plastic bags, like having plastic bag drop-offs for type 4 plastic in multiple locations, which are accessible to all residents, is important. Ask those questions, demand new systems that'll work for us. If something's not working, we need to fix it. Advocate with your dollars for product stewardship. This has become really big, where people are buying from businesses knowing that those businesses are supporting right to recycle initiatives, or buying products which they know that they can repair if they break, or buying products that they know can be recycled or reused and, for a longer period of time. And businesses are starting to pay attention to this. So this is good that product stewardship is being demanded, not only of us as consumers, but of producers of products. So products need to be more durable, that kind of thing. And really the best way for us to do that is to vote with our dollars and how we spend our money. And then also don't give up, because like Chris and I were just talking about now, it is so confusing. It is so frustrating. Things change. Like, it's all based on private markets, and demand and supply shifts, and it's going to keep happening. But don't give up, because Minnesota has a reputation, and the city of Edina has a reputation to upkeep for being some of the best recyclers in the nation. Okay. And I don't want to lose that clout. If you guys are not aware, we do have an America Recycles Day on November 15th. Traditionally, the city has not done too much with this. I'm hoping we can change that. But I want you guys to understand too that recycling is a new industry for our nation. It is a new part of our economy, and recycling does include organics in this. So like my job, I'm a epidemiologist. Like, I was trained in infectious disease management, but my job is a green job. My job is part of this nearly 1 million jobs, which is being created in this green sector. all those people that are down there sorting through our trash, they are part of that green industry. Like, we are building new industries here, we're supporting new industries here, and we're shifting the way things are done in the United States. And also, you guys thinking beyond the curb, sitting through these very boring Zoom presentations, like you're educating not only yourselves, but you're going to take this information to your families, you're going to take this to your grandkids, you're going to be the change that's happening. So beyond the curb, you guys are doing what you are supposed to be doing, which is educating others. And another thing that we are doing at the city that I was talking about earlier is we're supporting our community champions. All of you guys are community champions just by being in this presentation and caring enough to be here today. So partnering with, for example, the Youth Climate Summit, which is happening this weekend. Hopefully I feel better enough to attend because I'm supposed to be there, but like, these kids are high school kids that really care about the future of their planet, and they have been doing this to display the things that they think need to be done for saving their futures, essentially. And very important for all of us, we need to be avoiding the greenwashing trap. I don't know how many of us have heard this term before, greenwashing. Raise your hand. Hopefully we all have, because it's become more and more common language. But essentially it means being lied to by people that are producing products. So these are terms like earth friendly, biodegradable, made from recycled content. All of those things don't always mean what we think they mean, and we're being misled. There's another aspect to greenwashing, which I think that a lot of us, including myself, fell victim to at some point, where we purchased a product because we thought it was more durable or it was reusable. For me, it was stainless steel straws. Like, that was the it item for Christmas like 2 years ago. I gave everybody stainless steel straws. I hate them. I don't use them. I like my silicone straws, like my silicone reusable straws that I have. I like them so much better. I don't like the feeling of the cold steel against my lips and my teeth. Buying products simply because they're reusable or more durable doesn't mean that we're going to use them. It's actually less sustainable to purchase products like that if they have no use, because then they just end up being thrown away at some point. So that is another type of greenwashing that, like, I have had to educate myself on, like using what I actually already have or what I know I'm going to use. And then for us too, like a lot of consumer demand has been around, like, I'm not going to buy this unless I know I can recycle it. So a lot of people have been looking for products that have this type of logo on it here. And you'll see this more frequently, like on Amazon packages and stuff too, because consumers have been demanding it. Like, how do I actually recycle this product before buying it? That is a new and inspiring trend, I think. And another thing we could be doing better, and this is where I start stepping on toes. So please don't take anything I'm about to say personally. We as Americans have done too much for birthday parties, Christmas parties, our holiday celebrations. Like, we have gone overboard. And I say this because we have looked at the trash which we have produced in the last like 20 to 30 years. And there are so many thousands and thousands of pounds of little tiny plastic toys which cannot be recycled. Do you guys remember in the beginning of the presentation, I said, pay attention to those small plastic pieces? Those are like party favors, which we have stuffed into gift bags for children. Those are plastic straws and toys and things that we have given to kids on Halloween. Like, we have to change the way that we look at our holiday celebrations. And we have to start doing things differently. because what we're doing right now is part of the problem. Now, I'm not saying don't eat a turkey on Thanksgiving. I'm not saying you need to be a vegetarian or a vegan or that kind of thing. Like that would be really stepping on toes. But but what I wish that all of us would do is examine the way that we look at things, not just to be doing what everybody else is doing. And this is a recent phenomenon. It didn't used to be like this. And we have to stop wasting food. You know, we're going to eat the turkey. There's going to be a turkey carcass. That's great. But we waste a lot of food in the United States, and that is a privilege. Our country is privileged to have an excess of food, an excess of calories, and we all know that. And I think a lot of us have done a much better job of not wasting food. And frankly, there's a direct tie between organics recycling and paying attention to the amount of food waste we create. That's one of the things the University of Minnesota is looking at. And we know through other research partners that that is the case. So if somebody is organically recycling, they're less likely to waste food because they know how much food they're putting into the wastebasket. So in summary of this entire presentation, don't be trashy, Edina. Our communications team really hates this slogan. I kind of want to put it on a t-shirt, but I can't. So I wish we had a billboard in Edina because I would really want that on a billboard, but we don't. So we need to, in summary, do what we learned in elementary school, which is reduce the amount of waste that we create by buying smarter, reuse the things that we already have, or buy things that we know we will actually use multiple times, and then recycle smarter and recycle properly. And that's that. So I have lots of time for questions now. Like I said, I will, any links or resources that you saw in this presentation, I can definitely send them to you guys and you can have access to them. All of the research, all of the data, it's all available. So Joni, do you want to lead on questions? Because I see a few people have their hands up.
Sure, and going back to chat, and going back to that question of shredded paper, is there a better way to handle things, documents that need to be shredded, if shredded paper is essentially trash? Taking it to a commercial shredder, what should people be doing?
That's an interesting one. Yeah, so most commercial shredders, like the ones that come to the city hall to shred up important documents and stuff, they will take the shredded paper to the incinerator. So it's not getting recycled, but it's being incinerated. So really, if you look at landfilling versus incineration, incineration is probably cleaner, but not all contractors that you go to or like commercial facilities that you go to will have a contract with the incinerator in order to do that. So you can ask that question first.
And that's it for chat for right now. So if you want to take questions from hands, and I'll keep monitoring chat.
Okay. I can't see all of the hands.
Chris Bremer has a hand up.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a question about clothing. And I've seen pictures of some country in South America where they've got huge windrows of clothing out in the desert because the stuff we give away, a lot of it ends up getting shipped overseas and maybe only 15% of it is saleable. And the rest of it ends up out in the desert waiting to decompose. I also know that I have some concern about microplastics, and when we buy clothes that have like nylon and lycra in them, we end up with microplastics in the water waste stream, and that's a concern. I know you can get bags, and I do have one of those that will capture the microplastics. But
yeah.
Part of my concern, though, is that I look in my closet, I'm like, I have stuff I don't need. And in my house, I have stuff I don't need. And one of my neighbors is involved with Buy Nothing, but those groups have limited membership, and we need more groups for everyone to have access to Buy Nothing as a way to trade stuff locally. And so I think it would be helpful if the city would help to figure out how we get more of those Buy Nothing groups where people can trade things. And I think that's also has a lot to do with inflation. We're buying stuff we don't need, and so the prices can stay high.
So I'm glad you brought that up. And I do want to say that if we were talking about microplastics as a separate topic, and if we were talking about fast fashion as a separate topic, these are two more week-long lectures. Like, there is so much to unpack in what you just said. However, this is a shameless plug right now for the City of Edina's first ever clothing exchange event, which is going to be happening on April 23rd at the Braemar Backyard Rink. Please, Chris, bring all of the stuff that you don't want anymore, you can't fit into anymore, you think somebody else can use to be traded at these events. These are not one-to-one barter type events. The Buy Nothing project is helping us with this event. This is simply, you bring your tote bag of clothes that you don't want anymore, you forfeit them, and then you go shopping for things that you want. We call it schwapping. I was inspired to do this by the city of St. Louis Park, who have been doing this for a couple of years. They've been doing it not only with clothing, but with like garden tools and books and media swaps for quite a while. And I hope to expand those type of things within the city if this one goes off without a hitch, which it won't, but I can always kind of fudge that up a little bit. Just kidding. So yeah, that's coming. If you guys want more information about that, please contact me. I'll send you the flyer with all the information on it. Microplastics are an enormous concern. There is a lot of research coming out of the US Navy right now about the amount of microplastics in the ocean. And well, we know why the oceans are blue, but did you know that the highest concentration of microplastics in the ocean are actually blue fibers from clothing? So my grandma has almost every single year for the past like 15 years purchased me one of these like really nice Columbia fleece jackets for Christmas. And she gives me that every year. I think she buys it at like Shields or something. That's the culprit. I had to tell her to stop buying me those because that's what's ending up in our oceans, are those little fleece fibers from jackets like that. And how terrible is that? Like, it's so frustrating. Okay, but I'm going to step off that soapbox. So yes, Chris, I totally agree with your comment. Next question.
So a couple questions about recycling. Paper, back to paper. Can you put that recycling in paper bags? And then white bottle caps, if colored aren't reusable or aren't recyclable, are white bottle caps or clear recyclable?
Yes, you can put like smaller pieces of paper into plastic bag, or not plastic bag. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Paper bags. Put small pieces of paper into paper bags. And small mean like, don't put anything less than the size of my hand in them. Do not staple the bag shut. That will completely defeat the purpose. But that's what most people do. So that is okay for now. And then the white caps, so far I have not heard that is not okay, but the caps have to be attached to the bottle. So they need to be screwed back on and then put into the recycling stream. And if there's like a label on the bottle, then that needs to be taken off. So my husband really likes these like Kirkland vitamin water things. We have to rip off that film label around the bottle first and then put the cap back on and then put it into the recycling. And like I said earlier, if there's ever a question about like how to recycle something, there are resources for how to figure that out. So How to Recycle is a good one. The Hennepin County Green Disposal Guide is another really good one. And those are like local resources that we can tap into about items. Or you can always call me or email me, take a picture of what it is and be like, can this go in organics? Can this go in recycling? And if I don't know the answer, I'll try and figure out who does and get back to you.
So another question about clothing. Is nylon a source of microfibers? I know Chris mentioned it. We know polyester is.
Yeah.
That polyester and all the fleece products, but is nylon also a source of microfibers?
Yeah. And it's another problem for sure.
So wool and cotton.
Yeah. The itchy stuff. Although I really like cotton, but yeah. And the expensive stuff if you think about it. But that doesn't mean that like I don't have a closet full of nylon and polyester clothes. Like, and really what is most important is if I'm going to use them. Like if I'm going to wear those clothes, do I need to buy more? No. Will I? Yes. Like, let's be honest here. But I'm going, to start buying things that I know are more durable, that I will wear multiple times in my life, that maybe I could pass on to somebody, that maybe I could take to the clothing swap next Saturday. Like, that's kind of where my mind is on it, because remember, we're not going to do it perfectly. Like none of us are going to be doing this perfectly, but we can at least try.
And what about rayon, lyocell, and tencel?
Yep. All bad.
All bad?
Like, all bad.
They're natural fibers.
I know. So they have dyes. The problem is like you can't isolate those and they're always mixed. So this is what I'm saying. Like if you guys want to have a whole nother like lecture about fast fashion, let's chat, because there's so much that goes into this that yeah, we don't have time to do it today. But yeah, like if we've got a shirt that's like 90% cotton and it's got tinsel in it and it's dyed bright red, like we've yeah, I don't know what to say without like offending anybody, but it's part of the problem again.
So dyes in general?
Dyes in general, yep. Dyes in general are bad. That's where a lot of the microplastics which are contaminating the water in Minnesota are coming from, are dyes.
No one has raised this topic, but I have heard that there is some discussion at City Hall about organized trash hauling. Can you let us know where those discussions are right now?
Are you trying to get me fired? Just kidding.
Just asking for what's going on at City Hall.
Yes. Okay. That conversation comes up every single year. I've been told even prior to my start date that it comes up every single year. And it is being explored as an option to meet the requirements of the Climate Action Plan. Because we want to know if doing that is actually the best way. I think that's probably all I'm allowed to say on it. But remember, you can be part of the discussion too. Any other questions, comments, concerns, complaints? I'll take them now.
Do you want to close the share screen and then people can, if there are any hands raised? I'm not seeing any more questions in chat.
I have to say that this is the most fascinating, informative, enjoyable talk I have ever had on trash composting and recycling. I thought that, I mean, it was like something I knew I needed to hear, but it was going to be like, this is going to be boring. I thoroughly enjoyed this. You're very good at what you do. The city should just send you out all over, because you get so many more people being more responsible about their trash.
Thanks, Kathy. Yeah, I actually think that I like doing this because I'm a really bad government employee. Like I don't often keep my mouth shut, and unfortunately I don't always say the most appropriate thing. But that seems to be quite effective because like I said, what we're doing right now is a disruption of the norm.
Some would call that good trouble.
Right. Right. Pretty sure
Be-
my dad
be-
told me that when I was a kid.
Yeah, be
And
proud.
hopefully fostering new norms.
That's what, yeah, we are changing the normative messaging around garbage and recycling. Yeah, I agree. And that's all because you guys are here, so.
So thank you. Looking for any more questions, any more comments from anyone?
If there's something that like you want to talk about beyond this, or you want to explore it some more and I can help get research into your hands about, please email me directly. My information was up on that last slide and I'm very happy to have these conversations and to explore more into these topics because there's a lot I don't know. There's a lot we could dig up on this type of information. So
I
Well, this
love the
has been
fast fashion topic and the whole topic of clothing. I do think that's that could be a whole event on its own, is what the impact of shopping, which is definitely an Edina hobby. The impact of shopping on the environment would just be a great topic.
I love shopping. I really do.
Don't we all?
Right.
But we don't have to bring it all home.
Well, thank you so much. This has been fascinating. Much anticipated. It's been requested. Thank you. And thanks for providing contact information. I know people will continue to have questions. We have one more morning meeting before we break for the summer, and that will be on the new precincts and polling places. So the second Thursday, I believe it's the 12th of May, also at 10 o'clock. Welcome people back to that and hope to see as many of you as wish at City Hall next Thursday night, 7 o'clock, to hear Professor Johnson speak about the U.S. Supreme Court. So thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Twila. Wonderful presentation.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.